Alright, so we can start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Alright, so you can start reading from 27.
Yes, Prabhuji. Text 27. Sachiramaya Vishnu Brahmita Sarshito Brisha Shiva Vag Amrita Dvasta Kalesha Punjastam Abravit. Translation. Markandeya, having been forced by Lord Vishnu's illusory energy to wander about for a long time in the water of dissolution, had become extremely exhausted. But Lord Shiva's words of nectar vanquished his accumulated suffering. Thus he addressed Lord Shiva. Purport. Markandeya Rishi had desired to see Lord Vishnu's illusory energy and had suffered extensive miseries. But now, in the person of Shiva, Lord Vishnu again appeared before the sage and relieved all his suffering by imparting blissful spiritual instructions. Text 28. Shri Markandeya Uvacha Aho Ishvara Lileyam Durvidhavya Sharinam Yannamanti Shittavyani Stuvanti Jagat Ishvara. Translation. Shri Markandeya said, it is indeed most difficult for embodied souls to understand the pastimes of the universal controller, for such lords bow down to and offer praise to the very living beings they rule. Purport. In the material world, conditioned souls strive to lord it over one another. Therefore, they cannot understand the pastimes of the actual lords of the universe. Such bona fide lords have a wonderful, magnanimous mentality, and thus sometimes bow down to the most qualified and saintly among their own subjects. Text 29. Dharmam grahayitum prayah pravastarascha dehinam acharanti anumodante kriyamanam stuvanti cha. Translation. Generally, it is to induce embodied souls to accept religious principles that the authorized teachers of religion exhibit ideal behavior while encouraging and praising the proper behavior of others. Text 30. Naitavata bhagavata swamaya maya vrittidhi na dushyetanu bhavasthaye Mayina Kukuhakam Yatha. Translation. This apparent humility is simply a show of mercy. Such behavior of the Supreme Lord and his personal associates, which the Lord effects by his own bewildering potency, does not spoil his power any more than a magician's powers are diminished by his exhibition of tricks. Text 31-32. Vedam manasa vishvam atmananu pravishyaya gunae kurvadbhir abhati karteva swapnadrigyatha tasmae namo bhagavate trigunaya gunatmane kevalaya dvitiyaya Gurave Brahma Murtaye. Translation. I offer my obeisances to that Supreme Personality of Godhead who has created this entire universe simply by his desire and then entered into it as the Super Soul. By making the modes of nature act, he seems to be the direct creator of this world, just as a dreamer seems to be acting within this dream. He is the owner and ultimate controller of the three modes of nature. Yet he remains alone and pure, without any equal. He is the supreme spiritual master of all, the original personal form of the absolute truth. Purport. The Supreme Lord releases his material potencies, and by their interaction, creation takes place. The Lord remains aloof as the supreme transcendental entity. Still, because the entire creation unfolds according to his design and will, his controlling hand is perceived within all things. People thus imagine that God is the direct builder of this world, although he remains aloof, creating through the manipulation of his multifarious potencies. Text 33. कम्ब्रिलेनु परं भूमन् वरं त्वद् वरदर्शनात् यद् दर्शनात् पूर्णकामः सत्यकामः पुमन् भवेत्. Translation: O all-pervading Lord, since I have received the benedictions of seeing you, what other benediction can I ask for? Simply by seeing you, a person fulfills all his desires and can achieve anything imaginable. Text 34. Varam ekam vrinethapi purnat kamabhivarshanat bhagavati achyutam bhaktim tatpareshu tatha tvai. Translation: but I do request one benediction from you, who are full of all perfection and able to shower down the fulfillment of all desires. I ask to have unfailing devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead and for his dedicated devotees, especially you. Purport: the words Tat Pareshu Tatha Tvai clearly indicates that Lord Shiva is a devotee of the Supreme Lord, not the Supreme Lord himself. Because the representative of God is offered the same protocol as God himself, Marakendya Rishi addressed Lord Shiva as Lord in previous verse. But now it is clearly revealed that, as stated throughout Vedic literature, Lord Shiva is an eternal servant of God and not God himself. Desire manifests itself within the mind and heart according to the subtle laws governing consciousness. Pure desire to engage in the loving service of the Lord brings one to the most exalted platform of consciousness. And such a perfect understanding of life is available only by the special mercy of the Lord's devotees.
All right, so you can hold that.
Yes.
Okay. Ramanandan, please accept my obeisances, rise to Prabhupada, and you can begin, Prabhu, from text 35 of chapter 10 of the 12th canto.
Honorable Babaji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Okay, text 35. In 2 minutes, my computer is not very slow. Okay, text 35. Shri Shuta Uvacha Iti Achito Bihistustascha Munina Suktaya Giva Tam Aha Bhagavan Chavaha Davaya Chabhinandita. Translation: Sutta Goswami said, thus worshipped and glorified by the eloquent statements of their sage Markandeya, Lord Shiva, encouraged by his consort, replied to him as follows. Text 26. Kamu Mahasi Savoyam Bhaktimam Tvam Adoksaji Ekalpantak Yasa Punyam Ajaramavata Tatha. Translation: O good sage, because you are devoted to Lord Adoksaja, all your desires will be fulfilled until the very end of this creation cycle. You will enjoy pious springs and freedom from old age and death. Text 37. Janam Triyai Kalikam Brahman Vijnanam Cha Viraktimat Ramavachas Vino Bhujat Purana Chayatastuti. Translation. O Brahmana, you have perfect knowledge of past, present, and future, along with transcendental realization of the Supreme, in which by the renunciation you have the brilliance of an ideal Brahman, and thus may you achieve the post of spiritual masters of the Puranas. Text 38. Sutta Uvacha Yivam Varansa Munayi Tatavagatviya Aksha Isvara Devyaitat Kama Kathayan Anubhutam Puramuna. Translation. Sutta Goswami said, having thus granted Markandeya Rishi benediction, Lord Shiva went on his way, continued to describe to Goddess Devi the accomplishment of the siege and the direct exhibition of the Lord's illusory power that he had experienced. Text 59. Sopi avapta mahayuga mahima bhagavata maha vicharati adhunapi adaha arav ikantatam gataha. Translation. Markandeya Rishi, the best of the descendants of Bhrigu, is glorious because of his achievement of perfection in mystic yoga. Now today he travels about this world fully absorbing unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 40. Anuvanitam itati Markandeyasya dhimata Anubhutam bhagavato Maya Vaibhavam Adbhutam. Translation. I have just narrated to you the activities of the highly intelligent sage Markandeya, especially how he experienced the amazing power of the Supreme Lord's illusory energy. Text 41. Itat kichid avidvamso maya samsrite atmanaha anadi avititam ninam kudachitam prachaksati. Translation. Although this event was unique and unprecedented, some unintelligent persons compare it to the cycle of illusory material existence the Supreme Lord has created for the conditioned souls, an endless cycle that has been continuing since time immemorial. Purport. Markandeya is being drawn into the Lord's body by his annihilation and expelled again by his exaltation should not be considered a symbolic description of the perennial cycles of material creation and annihilation. This portion of the Srimad Bhagavatam describes a real historical event experienced by a great devotee of the Lord. And those trying to relegate this story to mere symbolic allegory are here declared to be unintelligent fools.
All right. So you can hold that. So continuing with text 42. Ya evam metar brigu varya varnitam rathanga panir anubhava bhavitam samsravayat samsrinuyadyu tavubhav Tayo Nakarma Shaya Samsritir Bhavet. O best of the Brigus, this account concerning Markandeya Rishi conveys the transcendental potency of the Supreme Lord. Anyone who properly hears, narrates or hears it will never again undergo material existence which is based on the desire to perform fruitive activities. Purport. Thus end the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada to the 12th canto, 10th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Shiva and Uma Glorify Markandeya Rishi. Moving on to the 11th, summary description of the Mahapurusha. And text 1. Shri Shaunaka Uvacha Atemam Artham Prachamo Bhavantam Bahu Vitamam Samasta Tantra Radhante Bhavan Bhagavata Tat Bhavet. Sri Shaunak said, O Sutta, you are the best of all learned men, and a great devotee of the Supreme Lord. Therefore we now inquire from you about the definitive conclusion of all Tantra scriptures. Text 2. Tantrika Paricharyayam Kevalasya Shriyapate Ango Panga Yudha Kalpam Kalpayanti Yatha Chayai Tanno Varnaya Bhadram Te Kriya Yogam Babhut Satam Yena Kriya Naipunena Martyoya Yad Amartyatam. All good fortune to you. Please explain to us, who are very eager to learn, the process of Kriya Yoga, practiced through regulated worship of the Transcendental Lord, the husband of the Goddess of Fortune. Please explain how the Lord's devotees conceive of his limbs, associates, weapons, and ornaments in terms of particular material representations. By expertly worshipping the Supreme Lord, a mortal can attain immortality. In text 4. Suto Vacha Namaskritya Gurun Vakshye Vibhuti Vaishnavir Api Ya Prokta Veda Tantrabhyam Acharyai Padmajaribhi. Sutta Goswami said, offering obeisances to my spiritual masters, I shall repeat to you the description of the opulences of Lord Vishnu given in the Vedas and Tantras by great authorities, beginning from lotus-born Brahma. Text 5. Maya Jai Navabis Savai Savikara Mayo Virat Nirmito Drishyate Yatra Sa Chitke Bhuvana Trayam. The universal form Virat of the personality of Godhead includes the 9 basic elements of creation, starting with the unmanifest nature and their subsequent transformations. Once this universal form is instilled with consciousness, the 3 planetary systems become visible within it. Report. The 9 basic elements of creation are Prakriti, Shutra, Mahatattva, false ego, and the 5 subtle perceptions. The transformations are the 11 senses and the 5 gross material elements. Text 6 to 8. Etadvai paurusham rupam bhupadao dyau shiro nabha nabhi suryo shini nase vayu karna disha prabho prajapati prajananam apano mrityur ishitu tad bahavo lokapala manas chandra bhuvau yama lajotara daro lobho danta jochna smayo brahma ramani bruha bhumno megha purusha murdhaja. Translation. This is the representation of the Supreme Lord as the universal person, in which the earth is his feet, the sky his navel, the sun his eyes, the wind his nostrils, the demigod of procreation his genitals, death his anus, and the moon his mind. The heavenly planets are his head, and the directions his heirs, and the demigods protecting the various planets his many arms. The god of death is his eyebrows, shame his lower lip, greed his upper lip, delusion his smile, and moonshine his teeth, while trees are the almighty Purusha's bodily hairs, and the clouds the hair on his head. Purport. Various aspects of the material creation, such as the earth, the sun, the trees, are sustained by various limbs of the universal body of the Lord. Thus they are considered non-different from him as described in this verse, which is meant for meditation. Alright, so Varun, you can go ahead and continue from that verse, which is text 9.
Text 9, Prabhuji. Yavan ayam vai purusho yavatya samsthaya mita tavan asav api maha purusho loka samsthaya. Translation. Just as one can determine the dimensions of an ordinary person of this world by measuring his various limbs, one can determine the dimensions of the Mahapurush by measuring the arrangement of the planetary systems within the universe. Text 10. Kasto bhavyapateshena swatma jyotirbibharti aja tattva vyaptini sakshat shri vatsam. Translation. Upon his chest, the Almighty, unborn personality of Godhead bears the Kastubha gem, which represents the pure spirit soul, along with the Srivatsa mark, which is the direct manifestation of this gem's expansive effulgence. Text 11-12. Swamayam vanamalakhyam nana gunamayim dadhat vasaschandomayam pittam brahmasutram trivrit swaram bibharti sankyam yogam cha devo makara kundale maulim padam parameshthayam sarvalokabhyayan karam. Translation. His flower garland is his material energy, comprising various combinations of the modes of nature. His yellow garments is the Vedic meters, and his sacred threads, the syllable Om, composed of 3 sounds. In the form of his 2 shark-shaped earrings, the Lord carries the processes of Sankhya and Yoga, and his crown bestowing fearlessness on the inhabitants of all the worlds is the supreme position of Brahmaloka. Text 13. Avyaktram anantakhyam asanam yad adhishthita dharma jnanadibhir yuktam satvam padmam ihochyate. Translation. Ananta, the Lord's sitting place, is the unmanifested phase of material nature, and the Lord's lotus throne is the mode of goodness endowed with religion and knowledge. Text 14 and 15. Ojah saho bala yutam mukhya tattvam gadam dadhat apam tattvam daravaram तेजस्तत्त्वं सुदर्शनम् नभो निभं नाभस्तत्त्वम् असिं चर्म तमोमयम् कालरूपं धनुषङ्गं तथा कर्ममयेषुधम्. Translation: the club of the Lord carries is the sorry the club the Lord carries is the chief element, prana, incorporating the potencies of sensory, mental and physical strength. His excellent conch shell is the element water, his sudarshan disk the element fire, and his sword pure as the sky the element ether. His shield embodies the mode of ignorance, his bow named sharanga time, and his arrow filled quiver the working sensory organs. Text 16. Indriyani sharan ahur akutir asya syandanam tat tanmatrani asya bhivikyaktim mudrayartha kriyatmatan. Translation: his arrows are said to be the senses, and his chariot is the active, forceful mind. His external appearance is the subtle objects of perception, and the gestures of his hands are the essence of all purposeful activity. Purport: all activity is ultimately aimed at the supreme perfection of life, and this perfection is awarded by the merciful hands of the Lord. The gesture of the Lord removes all fear from the heart of a devotee and elevate him to the Lord's own association in the spiritual sky. Text 17. Mandalam deva yajanam dikshad samskara atmana paricharya bhagavata atmano durita kashaya. Translation: the sun globe is the place where the Supreme Lord is worshipped. Spiritual initiation is the means of purification for the spirit soul, and rendering devotional service to the personality of Godhead is the process for eradicating all one's sinful reactions. Purport: one should meditate on the fiery sun globe as the place where God is worshipped. Lord Krishna is the reservoir of all effulgence, and thus it is fitting that he be properly worshipped on the glowing sun. Text 18. Bhagavan Bhaga Shad, Shabdaratham Leela Kamalam Udvahan Dharmam Yashacha Bhagavamsh Tamara Vyajane Bhajat. Translation: playfully carrying a lotus which represents the various opulences designated by the word bhaga, the Supreme Lord accepts service from a pair of chamara fans, which are religion and fame. Text 19. Ata patram tu vaikuntham dvija dhama Parnakyo Yagyam Vahati Purusham. Translation: O Brahmans, the Lord's umbrella is his spiritual abode, Vaikuntha, where there is no fear, and Garud, who carries the Lord of sacrifice, is the threefold Vedas.
All right, so you can hold that. All right, so Raghunandan, you can continue from text 20.
Okay, Prabhuji Lord is there for a long time, eh?
I'm sorry, say again?
I said Prabhu Lord is there for a long time.
It's okay, you'll read after you, don't worry. Wait a second. Yeah, he'll read after you, just go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Text 20. Anapalum Bhagavati Shri Sakshat Atmanohari Vishvakshena Tanshavati Vedita Pasanda Dipa Nandanda Yusto Dua Siddhascha Tini Madhya Hariguna. Translation. The goddess of fortune, she who never leaves the Lord's side, appears with him in this world as the representation of his eternal potency, Vaisnava, the chief among all personal associates, is known to be the personification of the Pancharatra and other tantras, and the Lord's 8 doorkeepers headed by Nanda are his mystic perfection beginning with anima, purport. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the goddess of fortune is the original source of all material opulences. Material nature is directly controlled by the Lord's inferior energy, Mahamaya, whereas the goddess of fortune is his internal superior energy. Still, the opulences of the Lord's inferior nature has its source in the supreme spiritual opulences of the goddess of fortune, as stated in Sri Hayasya Pancharatra. Paramatma Harideva Tatchakti Shri Hodita Shri Deva Prakti Prokta Keshava Purusha Smrita Na Vishnu Na Vina Devi Na Hari Padmajam Vina. The Supreme Soul, Lord Hari, and his potencies is known in this world as Sri Goddess. Sri is known as Prakti, and the Supreme Lord Keshava is known as the Purusha. The Divine Goddess is never present without him, nor does he ever appear without her. Also, Sri Vishnu Purana 18:1-15 states, Nityaiva sa jagam mata Vishnu Sri Anatpayini Yata Savagato Vishnus Tathailiyam Vijutamaha. She is the eternal mother of the universe, the goddess of fortune, of Lord Vishnu, and she is never separated from him. In the same way, the Lord Vishnu is present everywhere. So is he, O best of the Brahmins. Also in the Vishnu Puranas 19140. Evam yata jagat swami deva devo janadanaha avataram karoti eva tadha sritat sahayami. Thus, in the same way, the Lord of the universe, the God of gods, Janardana descends in this world, so his consort, the God of fortune, does also. The pure spiritual status of the goddess of fortune is described here in the Skanda Purana. Aparam to askaram yasa prakti jadanu pika Sri Parapakti prakta prokta Chetana Vishnu Samshraya Tam Aksaram Param Prabhu Parata Param Aksaram Hari Eva Hila Gunupi Aksara Trayam Iritam. The inferior infallible entity is that nature who manifests as the material world. The goddess of fortune, on the other hand, is known as the superior nature. She is pure consciousness and is under the direct shelter of Lord Vishnu. While she is said to be the superior infallible entity, that infallible entity who is greater than the greatest is Lord Hari himself. The original possessor of all transcendental qualities. In this way, three distinct infallible entities are described. Thus, although the inferior energy of the Lord is infallible in her function, her power to manifest temporary illusory opulences exists by the grace of the eternal energy the goddess of fortune, who is the personal consort of the Supreme Lord. The Padma Puranas 256 9-21 lists 18 doorkeepers of the Lord: Nanda, Sunanda, Jaya, Vijaya, Chanda, Prachanda, Bhadra, Subhadra, Data, Vidata, Kumuda, Kumudaksha, Pondariksha, Ramana, Sukukana, Sankukana, Savanitra, Sumukha, and Suprastista.
Okay, so you can hold there, Prabhu. And Lord Prabhu, please accept my obeisances. Lord Prabhupada. And so we were at text 21, and you can start from there.
Bible. Is this my whole business? Where is the Srila Prabhupada? Text 21. Vasudeva Sankarshana Pradyam Purusha Swayam Aniruddha iti Brahman Mriti Vyoho Bidiyate. Translation. Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha are the names of the direct personal expansion of the Supreme Godhead, or Brahman, Sonika. Text 22. Savishva Taijasya Prajans Tiruja eti Riti Bihi Artindriyas Yasaya Gyanair Bhagavan Paribhavayati. Translation. One can conceive of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in terms of awakened consciousness, sleep, and deep sleep, which functions respectively through external objects, the mind and material intelligence, and also in terms of the fourth, transcendental level of consciousness, which is characterized by pure knowledge. Text 23. Avo Pangayuda Kalpair Bhagavam Stakchatushtayam Bibareti Sma Chaktur Muktir Bhagavan Hari Ishvara. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Hari, thus appears in the fourth person expansion, each exhibiting major limbs, minor limbs, weapons, and ornaments. Through these distinct features, the Lord maintains the four phases of existence. Purport. The Lord's spiritual body, weapons, ornaments, and associates are all pure transcendental existence, identical with Him. Text 24. Dvijarashba sa isha Brahmayoni swayam drik Swamahima mahima paripuno Mayaya cha swayayitas Srijati hariti patitya Akyayana vritakso Vritya eva niruktasta Parair Atma Lapyaha. Translation. O best of Brahmans, He alone is the self-luminous, original source of the Vedas, perfect and complete in His own glory. By His material energy, He creates, destroys, and maintains this entire universe. Because He is a performer of various material functions, He is sometimes described as materially divided, yet He always remains transcendentally situated in pure knowledge. Those who are dedicated to Him in devotion can realize Him to be their true soul. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur recommends that we become humble by practicing the following meditation. The earth, which is always visible to me, is the expansion of the lotus feet of my Lord, who is always to be meditated upon. All moving and non-moving living beings have taken shelter of the earth and are thus sheltered at the lotus feet of my Lord. For this reason, I shall respect every living being and not envy anyone. In fact, all living entities constitute the Kushtaba gem on my Lord's chest. Therefore, I should never envy or deride any living entity. By practicing this meditation, one can achieve success in life. Text 25. Shri Krishna Krishna Shak Vrishni Rashbaya Vani Drigu Diru Rajayan Rajanya Vamsa Dahanana Pavarga Vriya Govinda Gopi Vanita Raja Britya Gita Tritya Sarva Sarvana Mangala Pahi Brityam. Translation. O Krishna, O friend of Arjuna, O chief among the descendants of Vrishni, you are the destroyer of those political parties that are distributing elements on the earth, disturbing elements on this earth. Your proudness never deteriorates. You are the proprietor of the transcendental abode. Are your most sacred glories, which are sung by Vrindavan's cow-herd men and women and their servants, bestow all auspiciousness just by being heard. O Lord, please protect your devotees. Text 26. Ya edam kalya utaya mahapusha lakshanam takchita prayato japta brahma veda guhasayam. Translation. Anyone who rises early in the morning and, if a purified mind fixed upon the Mahapurusha, quietly chants the description of his characteristics, will realize him as the Supreme Absolute Truth residing within the heart.
Alright, you can hold it. 3, so text 27 through 28. Shri Shaunakavacha Shukoya Daha Bhagavan Vishnu Rataya Shrindvate Sauro Gano Masi Masi Nana Vasati Saptaka Tesham Namani Karmani Nayuktanam Adishvarai Bruhina Shadadhananam Vyuham Suryat Manohare. Sri Shaunak said, please describe to us, who have great faith in your words, the different sets of 7 personal features and associates the sun god exhibits during each month, along with their names and activities, the associates of the sun god who serve their Lord, and the personal expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari in his feature as the presiding deity of the sun. Purport. After hearing an account of the exalted conversation between Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, Shaunak now inquires about the sun as the expansion of the Supreme Lord. Although the sun is the king of all planets, Sri Shaunak is especially interested in this effulgent globe as the expansion of Sri Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The personalities related with the sun are of 7 categories. In the course of the sun's orbit, there are 12 months, and in each month a different sun god, a different set of his 6 associates, and a different set of his 6 associates preside. In each of the 12 months, beginning from Vaishaka, there are different names for the sun god himself: the sage, the yaksha, the Gandharva, the Apsara, the Rakshasa, and the Naga, making a total of 7 categories. Text 29. Sri Sutta Uvacha Anari Avidyaya Vishnur Atmana Sarvadehinam Nirmito Lokatantrayam Lokeshu Parivartate. Sutta Goswami said, the sun travels along the planets and thus regulates their movements. It has been carried by Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Soul of all embodied beings, through his beginningless material energy. Eva eva hi lokanam surya atmadi kridharai sarva veda kriya moolam rishibhir bahu dodita. The sun god, being none different from Lord Hari, is the one soul of all the worlds and their original creator. He is the source of all ritualistic activities prescribed in the Vedas and has been given many names by Vedic sages. Text 31. Kalo desha kriya karta karanam karyam agama dravyam phalam iti brahman navadhyukto jaya hari. Being the source of the material energy, the personality of Godhead Lord Hari, his expansion as the sun god, is described in 9 aspects: O Shaunaka, the time, the place, the endeavor, the performer, the instrument, the specific ritual, the scripture, and the paraphernalia of worship are the result, and the result to be achieved. Text 32. Madhvadishu dvadasau Bhagavan Kala Rupadrik Loka Tantraya Charati Pritag Dvadas Sabir Ganai. The Supreme Personality of God, in manifesting his potency of time as the sun god, travels about in each of the 12 months, beginning with Madhu, to regulate planetary motion within the universe. Traveling with the sun god in each of the 12 months is a different set of 6 associates. And text 33. Dhata Krishtali Hitur Vasuki Ratakrin Mune Pulastyas Tumburur Iti Madhuvasam Nayantiyami. My dear sage Dhata, as the sun god, Kritashtali as the Apsara, Heti as the Rakshasa, Vasuki as the Naga, Rathakrit as the Yaksha, Pulastya as the sage, and Tumburu as the Gandharva rule the month of Madhu. And Aryama Pulaho Tauja Praheti Punji Kashtali Narada Kacha Nirascha Nayanti Etisma Madhavam. Aryama as the sun god, Pulaha as the sage, Atuja as the Yaksha, Praheti as the Rakshasa, Punji Kashtali as the Apsara, Narada as the Gandharva, and Kachinara as the Naga rule the month of Madhava. Alright, so Varun Prabhu, you can continue from there.
Yes, Prabhuji. Text 35. Nitrotri Paruseyotha Takshako Menakaha Rathasvana iti hye ete Shukramasam Nayantyami. Translation. Mitra is the sun god, Atri as the sage, Paurusheya as the Rakshasa, and Takshaka as the Naga, Menaka as the Apsara, Haha as the Gandharva, and Rathasvana as the Yaksha rule the month of Shukra. Text 36. Vashishto Varuno Rambha Sahajanyas Huhu Shukrashchitrasvanaschaiva Shuchi Masam Nayantiyami. Translation. Vashishtha as the sage, Varun as the sun god, Rambha as the Apsara, Sahajanya as the Rakshasa, Huhu as the Gandharva, Shukra as the Naga, and Chitrasvana as the Yaksha rule the month of Shuchi. That's 37. Indro Vishwavah Sushrota Elapatras Tathangira Pramlocha Rakshaso Varyo Nabho Masamnayantyami. Translation. Indra is the sun god, Vishwavasu as the Gandharva, Shrotra is the Yaksha, Elapatra as the Naga, Angira is the sage, Pramlocha is the Apsara, and Varya is the Rakshas rule the month of Nabhas. Text 38. Vivasvan Ugrasenascha Vyagra Asarano Brigu Anum Locha Shankhapalo Nabhas Yakhyam Nayantyami. Translation. Vivasvan as the sun god, Ugrasen as the Gandharva, Vyagra as the Rakshasa, Asarana as the Yaksha, Brigu as the sage, Anum Locha as the Apsara, and Shankapala as the Naga rule the month of Nabhasya. Text 39. Usha Dhananjayo Vatah Tushe na Suruchis Tatha Gritchachi Gautama Shepi Tapo Masam Nayantyami. Translation. Usha is the sun god, Dhananjaya as the Naga, Vata as the Rakshasa, Sushena as the Gandharva, Suruchi as the Yaksha, Grittachi as the Apsara, and Gautama as the sage rule the month of Tapas. Text 40. Riturvaja Bharadvaja Parjanyaha Senajit Tatha Vishva Airavatashchaiva Tapasyathyam Nayantyami. Translation. Ritu as the Yakshas, Varcha as the Rakshasas, Bharadwaj as the sage, Parajanya as the sun god, Senajit as the Apsara, Vishwa as the Gandharvas, and the Airavata as the Naga rule the month known as Tapasya.
All right, so you can hold that, Prabhu. All right, Raghunandan, you can continue from text 41.
Okay, text 41. Okay. Text 41. Adhamush Kasyapastaksya Ratsinatadhos Vasi Vidyuchahatu Mahasam Sankaha Sahumasam Nayantyami. Translation. Amisu as the sun god, Kasyapa as the sage, Takasya as the Yakshas, Ratsina as the Gandhara, Uvasi as the Apsara, Vidyuchahatus as the Rakshas, and Mahasanka as the Naga rule the month of Sahas. The Naga ruled the month of Sas. 42. Bagos Piyojoristani Runa Ayuscha Panchamaha Kaputaka Provachite Oshyama Samnanyanti Ami Nayanti Ami. Translation. Bhaga as the sun god, Piruja as the Rakshas, Aristanini as the Gandhava, Una as the Yaksha, Ayu as the sage, Katutaka as the Naga, and Provachiti as the Aspara rule the month of Pushya. Apsara rule the month of Pushya. 43. Trivastara Chikatanaya Kambalacha Tilutamaha Tama Brahma Pituta Santajit Dhatarashtra Ishambara. Translation. Trivasta as the sun god, Janmadagni as the son of Rishika as the sage, Kambalasva as the Niga, Tilutama as the Apsara, Brahmapita as the Rakshas, Satajit as the Yaksha, and Dhatarashtra as the Gandhava maintain the month of Isha.
Alright, so you can hold there, Prabhu. And Lord Prabhu, you can finish us up for tonight. We're not hearing you, Prabhu. Okay, I'm not sure what's happening. We're not hearing him. Alright, so text 44. Vishnur Ashvataro Rambha Surya Varachas Jajit. Are you coming on there, Prabhu? Vishwamitra. Can you read? Alright, go ahead. Your volume is very low.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Vishnu as the sun god, as Bhaskara as the Naga, Ba as Para, Vaksha as the Gandhava, Satchit as Yaksha, Vishwamitra as the sage, and Pita as the Rakshasa ruled the as these sun gods and the associates are mentioned individuals in the Kamala Purana as follows. Tara, Yama, Sahiti Kachani Rascha Takshaka Shukra Evacha Hala Patra Sanka Palas Tatair Evata Sanjinta Dano Yin Jayo Mahaparam Paramas Tata Karkotako Dvija Kambalo Swataras Chaiva Vahintya Inam Tata Karama Tumburu Naruda Haha Hohor Viva Vashus Tata Ugrasino
Alright, you can hold that. You can hold it. And we didn't, no need to read all that now. Okay, so we can stop here tonight, and at this point, looking over, there are a few things that were discussed, alright. Markandeya Rishi had desired to see Lord Vishnu's illusory energy, and then he suffered extensive miseries. But in the person of Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu again appeared before the sage and relieved all his suffering by imparting blissful spiritual instruction. So even though there might be difficulty, by the instructions of the Supreme Lord, we can actually become relieved of this material situation. So generally it is to induce embodied souls to accept religious principles, that the authorized teachers of religion exhibit ideal behavior while encouraging and praising the proper behavior of others. So even though they're teachers of religion and they exhibit ideal behavior, they still render benedictions in the form of respect to others who are practicing devotional service. And this apparent humility is simply a show of mercy. Such behavior of the Supreme Lord and his personal associates, which the Lord effects by his own bewildering potency, does not spoil his power any more than a magician's powers are diminished by his exhibition of tricks. So it doesn't mean that great personality becomes less since he's offering respect to someone else, but it's the way that it's done. He doesn't become any less because of that. So then in chapter 11, Shaunak Rishi wanted to know about the manifestation of the sun god. We were seeing the descriptions of that. It's a little bit, detailed really, so we can look at that afterwards. So at this point in time, you can stop. If there are any questions or comments, you can have them now. Or if there are any realizations. Okay, so we are stopping at 12:11:44. We'll continue at 12:11:45 on the next reading. At this point in time, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavatam.
Hari Hari Hari.